My draft is complete garbage.
So what? Your favorite book probably went through dozens of edits before it was actually published.
You're right, this is just a draft. I can't compare it to completed works. Hey writers, Patrick Nyland here, and today I'll be demonstrating how writing the same story multiple times can yield different results. Hopefully the story will improve with each iteration, but we'll find out. For the record though, the third draft is not always necessarily better than the second draft, so that's just a reminder to not delete stuff if you don't have to. Which is a habit I really have to get out of. Anyway, there's no need for me to babble all day, let's get right into writing. For this writing exercise, I'll be writing an entry of Welp Now What. Welp Now What was basically my New Year's resolution to write one short story every single week. Full disclosure, I have fallen behind on that resolution. Even though I've already technically failed, I feel like I'd be doing myself a disservice if I just quit. The basic premise behind Welp Now What was there was an asteroid that was supposed to hit the planet, but it didn't. And now all the characters have to deal with the actions they did when they thought the world was ending. Speaking of, what would you do today if you thought the world was going to end tomorrow and nothing was going to matter? Hopefully your answer is less sick than most of the characters in Welp Now What. Let's get to it. So for the sake of time, and so I could actually display the stories in this video so you guys can see them and compare them, I decided to make each story around 100 words. To be honest, the 100-word flash fiction format was a bit rough, but I did my best. They're probably not complete stories on their own, but I do show progression between the three of them. Let's go check them out.
People across the districts watched their televisions in unison as the Prime Minister stepped up to the podium. They watched as he spoke, listening for what everyone was hoping or dreading to hear. Finally, he stopped beating around the bush and he spoke. After much deliberation, it has been settled that all crimes committed within a week of the predicted asteroid impact will be pardoned. He followed the statement with more words, but most did not hear. Everywhere, even in the Parliament building where he stood, there was uproar. Some cheered, others cried. All were uncertain of what would come next. All crimes committed in the week leading up to and the week after the asteroid was predicted to hit Tehran have been exonerated. I will not be fielding questions at this time. The Prime Minister of the nation retreated back behind his security in anticipation of what would happen next. The court where he spoke erupted into an outroar. A brawl broke out between one of the representatives who punched another who cheered over the decision. The reactions across the districts were not much better. Some citizens laughed, others cried. All knew there would be repercussions all across the nation. All crimes believed to be committed as a result of the asteroid Salvador will be exonerated. I will not field questions at the Prime Minister was struck by a shoe and quickly ushered out by security as the courtroom erupted into complete disarray. How could it be determined that a crime was committed due to an asteroid? How could those who had committed violent crimes be allowed to stay in society? How would the victims of these crimes react after receiving no sense of justice? Those questions loom within the minds of every citizen in the nation. Yeah, I'm not the best at reading out loud, but I think this went a lot better than it did last time. I don't think I messed up too many words.
Which of the three stories did you think was the best? Personally, I think the third was the best. Granted, I am biased because the third one is the one that I wrote most recently, which is another thing I want to touch on briefly. Typically, when you edit a story, it takes weeks, months, or even years. I wrote all three versions of the story in 30 minutes. So I haven't really had as much time as I typically would to read over the first one and really decide what I want to improve from it. That being said, with each version of the story, I feel like I got more out of my 100 words. Reading back all three of them, one of the big things I noticed is I really pushed ahead the action. I can also tell there are points where I tried to show instead of telling. One really good example of this is in the second story, I mentioned there was a brawl, and in the third one, I include the Prime Minister getting hit by a shoe to really express the chaos. That specific action is way more impactful, at least in my opinion, than just saying there was a brawl. But yeah, this just goes to show how much can change between versions of a draft. There's a good chance that the final version you publish is going to look nothing like the first draft that started it all. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me out with this channel. Good luck with your works in progress.